So I realize that we live in a world today that really glorifies and pushes on us about taking care of yourself, making sure that you are taking care of your hygiene, making sure you're looking good, making sure you are putting yourself first. And I think that a lot of that stuff can be very superficial and surface level. While I do agree that those things need to be a priority for you, I also feel like I don't want to leave behind all the deeper self care stuff because, y'all, one thing about me, I struggled so bad with being able to take care of myself, right? On the deeper levels. Like, I just didn't know nothing about it. Like, I didn't know that in order for me to be able to give to others, I had to give to myself first. I didn't know that other people and how they treat me, the people that I choose in my life and how they treat me, was a reflection of how I was treating myself. I didn't know that I wasn't able to be pouring from an empty cup, right? And that sounds so like, okay, that's common sense, but no, when you don't get raised that way, like I was raised to take care of others first. I was raised to learn, I was taught how to take care of others. Like that's something I know how to do, right? Like I got that part down packed. I know how to take care of other people, right? But I was never taught how to truly take care of myself. I was never taught to put myself first. I would even argue that I was taught that putting myself first was selfish, right? And that's not to blame my parents or anything like that. That's just to put into perspective why I was not taking care of myself and why I didn't really know nothing about taking care of myself. I was never taught that, right? I always was taught that other people, you should take care of other people. In order to be a good person, taking care of other people was important. I was never taught that being a good person also includes being a good person to yourself, right? So today I kind of want to talk about how I started to take better care of myself on deeper levels, in which ways of my life I had to implement this. I think the first thing that I really had to start doing was taking accountability, right? And I have a video on accountability too, and how it goes hand in hand with quantum leaping and reality shifting. So yeah, go watch that. But I definitely had to start taking accountability for my own life. I had to start taking accountability for my attitude. I had to start taking accountability for the way that I speak to myself, the way that I speak to others. I had to start taking accountability for everything, my health. I had to start taking accountability for my laziness, right? My procrastination. I had to start taking accountability for everything around me that I did not like or that I did like, right? I had to start taking accountability for myself and my life. Once I started taking accountability, the second thing I would say that I had to start immediately implementing was having boundaries, right? Boundaries with other people and boundaries with myself, because a lot of times we put a lot of emphasis on having boundaries with other people, but I think a lot of those boundaries are self um imposed. Like, for how can I explain this? I feel that sometimes we have to set boundaries for ourselves to be able to set boundaries with others. So if you have a problem with saying no to people, that's not their fault that you have a problem saying no. Like, that's your fault. You have to be able to go and say, look, okay, you need to be able to say no. Like, this is a problem. There's no reason why you should be stressed out all night for the rest of your week because you told somebody no. No should be able to be a one word sentence, and it should be fine. You should feel okay with yourself afterwards. And I do realize that this is going to take some practice because it took some practice for me. Me saying no, y'all, took some practice, okay? Because I always felt like saying no was not being a good person, right? But it's actually having boundaries for yourself and having respect for yourself, which is my next point. One of the biggest things that I was really not understanding was that having respect for yourself is not just the things that are obvious, right? Like, having respect for yourself is not just, oh, I'm not going to go out and sleep with everybody, because for me, like, I had respect for myself. I had a level of respect for myself, and I thought that I was pretty good on that tip of having respect for myself. But then when I started to learn more about deeper self-care and realizing that, okay, self-respect is not just about certain things that I think it's about. It's not just about the obvious, right? It's about also not putting myself in positions to where I feel horrible, not putting myself in situations with other people because they wanted it to be that way if I didn't want it, right? Not being in relationships that I know are like draining me, right? That's not respecting myself. Deeper things about respecting yourself, not just the superficial stuff, really respecting yourself, really having a respect to yourself where, okay, I have enough respect to myself for myself that when I set a boundary and you cross it, we're gonna have to talk about that. Like I'm not just gonna ignore it because I have respect for myself, not pushing yourself on other people because you have respect for yourself. That was another thing that I was really struggling with, y'all. Like coming off as desperate. Although um I've never thought of myself as a desperate person. It would come off that way because I feel like, okay, I'm just going to express myself regardless. But no, that's not respecting yourself. If somebody's not showing interest in you, you don't start reaching out to them more. That is not respecting yourself. That's actually disrespectful to yourself. So a lot of those deeper things about respecting yourself started to come up for me, right? Like, and I started to learn, like, okay, that's not respecting yourself. Another example is like, I moved away a while ago, and a lot of people would always be like, "Oh, you live so far, you live so far," but I would always be willing to take an hour drive to go and see them. And I started to see that as like, okay, that's not respecting yourself. Like you're still dealing with people who can't even take an hour drive to come see you as if you're so far away, but you can come out for them each and every time. Like that's not really fair and that's not really respecting yourself. Reaching out to people who don't really reach out to you, who don't want to be they act as if they don't want to be bothered with you. That is not respecting yourself. And those are just small examples, right? That I personal examples, but I'm sure there are some deeper ways that you can be respecting yourself. My next point, which kind of ties into respecting yourself, is actually an example of respecting yourself, is showing up for myself, y'all. When I tell you that was the biggest, I gotta say, that was the biggest thing that I was falling short on, was really showing up for myself. Like I was always getting afraid. I was always having like imposter syndrome and I was always running away and I was not showing up for myself, right? I just would abandon myself. I would be like, okay, this is too scary. I'm not gonna do it no more. And I would just stop. Like even as far as like posting YouTube videos, this is something I've been wanting to do for the longest, y'all. And I finally gotten myself to the point of self-respect where I am not showing up for myself. I am going to show up for myself. And if I said I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Once you start respecting yourself, you will start showing up for yourself. When you don't show up for yourself, when you say that you're going to do something and you continuously let yourself down, you feel like other people are not showing up for you, that is the reason why. It's because you're not showing up for yourself. You cannot expect anybody to give you anything more than what you give yourself. I got a video on that. Other people are only going to reflect you to you, right? So definitely start showing up for yourself. I had to fight for that because that was a big thing for me. I was not showing up for myself and I just was not respecting myself, right? So taking accountability, setting boundaries with yourself and with others, respecting yourself and really, really showing up for yourself is a way that you can start taking better care of yourself on a deeper level right now today. Another thing too, I had to stop ignoring my intuition, y'all. Like I have always been very intuitive. I have always been very in touch with like my third eye per se. I have always been a very spiritually inclined person and I had to stop sitting around ignoring my intuition. Like because every single time that my intuition would tell me something, and that's not to just say like bad things, but also good things. Like if your intuition is telling you, hey, go and do that, you need to get your ass up and go do it. Like seriously. Like we need to be listening to our intuition. Do not ignore that. That is your soul trying to communicate with you. That is your spirit team trying to communicate with you, okay? Listen to your intuition so that you can make available to yourself the infinite possibilities. And lastly, y'all, I want you to really start to understand the concept of pouring from an empty cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to fill your cup up and let it overflow onto others. That is, I think that goes over so many people's head. It's so much deeper than what meets the eye, right? You really just cannot pour from an empty cup. You have to fill your cup up. You have to pour into yourself like no tomorrow in order to be able to pour into other people, right? So if you're one of those people who are passionate about others, which like me, I'm very passionate about other people. I love to take care of other people. I love to be there for other people. I love to help guide other people. It's what I feel like that's what I do. But I realize that I cannot do that. I cannot be of value. I cannot be a guide. I cannot be anything to anybody if I am not that for myself first, right? So that is your number one priority. You have to take care of you and your soul, and you have to make sure that you are pouring into that with every ounce of your being, right? So that you can be able to let that overflow out to other people. And that is going to put you on alignment with your highest purpose, right? Because you're going to be able to let that overflow to millions, or whatever your higher purpose is. You're going to be able to, once you pour into yourself, you're going to be able to let that overflow to the people that it needs to overflow to. So my hope is that you got something from this video, and that you start to take better care of yourself on a deeper level right now, today. Y'all, you deserve it. You are worthy, and I am sending you all of my love. I hope that you like this video. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will be seeing you in my next video. Bye.